So that's the result from our first test bake of the potato buns. Now for you guys, that was last week. For me, it was yesterday. And I am very, very happy with the shelf life of these buns. They've been overnight in the cupboard and they're still beautifully soft. Now in the first video, we covered the initial recipe design and the ingredients and put together a test bake. But our plant-based burgers are all about potato. So today we're going to have a look and see what effect different quantities of potato have on the dough. Now, if you didn't check out the first video, then have a look at that first. I'll link to it above and in the video description. So today we're going to be making the ingredient changes from the initial test bake of the potato buns, and right now I'm weighing up the ingredients for 3 different batches to test. I'm going to make smaller batches today and will refer to the changes that I make in bake as percentages. Now I've decided to lose the almond milk completely from the recipe and rely solely on the cooking water from the potatoes for hydration, and I've also bumped this up from 55% to 60%. As I said in the last video, the barley malt extract wasn't providing the right level of sweetness for these rolls. I don't want it to be excessive, but I do feel they need a little sweetness, so I've added in 3 grams of granulated sugar in addition to the 15% of barley malt extract. I've also dropped the amount of olive oil from 10% down to 7%. So I'll make those adjustments across all 3 batches. Now the first batch is going to have the same amount of potato as the last recipe in the last video, which was 25%. I'm going to bump up the potato to 30 in the second batch and 35% in the third. Now I've added all of the ingredients to the bowls except for the potatoes, and before I do that I'm going to mark up the bowls so I know which one is which. Now if you've been wondering why in some of my videos I've got things scribbled all over my bowls and containers, now you know the answer. It's normally a sign that I've been playing around with a recipe. So as I mentioned, we've got 25% of potato in the first bowl, 30 in the second and 35 in the third. Now while I mix these, I'll explain a little bit about the potatoes. Now here in Greece, I'm a bit limited for choice on what potatoes I can find. So I've gone with a Cypriot potato. It's not waxy and it's got a nice fluffy texture when it's cooked. But the real key is to let these potatoes steam as they cool down before you mash them or put them through a ricer. We want to lose that moisture before adding them to the recipe. So that's the dough mix now, and we can cover them and leave them out on the bench for 15 minutes to rest. I'll knead each dough for 5 to 10 minutes until pretty smooth. Now the 25% dough feels obviously like the original in the first video, easy to bring together with a smooth texture, not too wet. The 30% dough feels very similar. I expected it to feel wetter, but it's still very manageable. And the 35% is a little bit wetter, but it still comes together pretty well. And from feeling the dough, my favourite so far is the 30%. So now we can cover these and they can prove out at room temperature. Now before shaping, I'll mark up the baking tray so I know which dough is which. I'll shape 2 pieces of dough from each batch and that will leave me 1 spare just in case anything goes horribly wrong. All 3 of these doughs came together really nicely, but the proving time changes the quality of the dough. They're all really soft, and to be honest, if I mix them up now, I can't be sure that I'll be able to tell which one's which. Well, possibly the 35% dough stands out. In last week's video, I baked the first test batch at 180 degrees Celsius or 355 degrees Fahrenheit, and they baked for 18 minutes. But for this bake, I'm going to increase that temperature to 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit, just to compare the crust and crumb when it's baked at a higher temperature. Right, that's the final proof done, and there's still no big visual differences in the dough. Now I'm guessing they'll be around 14 to 15 minutes to bake, but I'll keep an eye on them closely. So we are done, and I really enjoy testing specific elements of a bake like this. Sometimes it's easy to overlook the impact that small tweaks can have in the end result, and I'm really happy with the adjustments of all of the ingredients from the first bake. But to be honest though, I thought the different percentages of potato would have a bigger impact on the handling of the doughs, and even in the final taste test, there were differences, but not as far apart as I thought. But while they're quite similar, there is definitely one winner for me. And for that winner, you're going to have to wait until the final video where I'll bring everything that we've discussed together. So as ever, a huge thank you for watching. I'll see you again very soon. Stay tuned.